What's good, guys? Welcome back to Small Talk on Head-to-Head Fantasy Basketball. Today, you're joined by two hosts. My name is Alan.
And I'm Anson. Today we're going to be covering the blockbuster trade that just happened, Damian Lillard going to the Bucks. We're going to be talking about how this impacts our upcoming ESPN 2024 head-to-head points fantasy leagues.
Yeah, so let's get started one by one. We're gonna start with the Bucks trade, right? So obviously, Damian Lillard is joining Giannis. That affects both players. Damian Lillard was the number one option on Portland, and now he's joining Giannis. And Giannis and Dame, they obviously both are very dominant players. So I think, in my opinion, I feel like they both might take a hit fantasy wise, but I feel like the hit will be more towards Damian Lillard over Giannis. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. There's arguments that, both of them could increase because everyone's been talking about Dame and Giannis kind of being the perfect match for each other.
Mhm.
There's obvious arguments why both of their fantasy outputs would decrease, just because when two star players team up, someone has to take less shots. So, in my opinion, both of them will decrease. You hit it right on the spot, though. I think Damian Lillard fantasy output would definitely decrease, or it's more likely to decrease rather than Giannis, mainly because Giannis is so efficient with the ball. Damian Lillard requires a lot of shots, whereas Giannis gets defensive stats. Even if he isn't able to shoot, he averages about 11 or 12 rebounds per
Yeah,
game.
we'll pull
He
the
gets
stats right now for
he
you.
gets blocks, he gets steals. Last year, I believe, was a outlier year. He's never really averaged 0.8 blocks since he was an all-star, right? The year before that, 1.4 blocks per game. So Giannis, I'm not gonna take this 0.8 as I continue. He's gonna continue doing this. One thing with Dame being a more ball dominant player, it could benefit Giannis because you see this 3.9 turnovers. This is definitely an outlier, career high in turnovers for Giannis. It could go down. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Just looking at his stats, 31 and 12 is a really, really solid stats. And maybe it does take a hit on his assists because Dame is there, but I feel like Giannis is gonna get doubled here and there, and his ability to kick it out, especially that he's like 7 foot tall, his ability to throw it over his head or just kick it out to one of the shooters, one of the best shooters in the league at the moment. I feel like that's not gonna be a problem for him. Like that helps Dame out because he's shooting 3 pointers for fantasy. That's obviously you guys don't know. There's a 3 point bonus for fantasy. So I feel like Dame's gonna be able to eat that all up. And if Giannis gets or if Dame gets try to get trapped or doubled, he could throw it down to one of the best interior players in the league at the moment, right? So I feel like the ceiling is very very high for these two players. I know people are saying like this is a guaranteed lock for a championship. Everything is healthy, but who knows? We've seen stuff happen. We've seen crazy games, but at the moment, I don't want to put expectations on this team. I just kind of really want to see how they play together, right? I mean, we could talk about Damian Lillard stats really quick here. You want to cover this, Anson?
yeah, with Damian Lillard, I mean, if he's gonna keep up his shot output, that's the main thing that really drives his fantasy
Yeah.
stats is that he takes a lot of shots, 20.7, takes 11 threes per game. Honestly, I could see the three-point attempts staying there. It could even go higher just because Giannis attracts so much attention. But 20.7, most likely it'll decrease just because he's playing on a better team. However, we've seen two players that take a lot of shots play together. Like, for example, James Harden and Russell Westbrook when they were playing together in 2020 season. James Harden took 22.3 shots. Russell Westbrook took 22.5 shots. So it could definitely happen. I'm not sure that it will in this scenario. I don't think it's very realistic to assume that just because the third shot taker was Eric Gordon in this Bucks team. Chris Middleton's obviously a lot better than Eric Gordon, and the team in general. Brooke Lopez is better than the fourth player on the Rockets, Robert Covington. So I definitely agree both of their shots are going to decrease. Lillard, in my opinion, even though I suspect his production to decrease, don't go off ESPN. If you guys saw our last video,
Oh
we
my
saw the
god.
fact, yeah, don't let Lillard slide to 19 still. But I definitely think it takes him out of the running for that top 8 spot. So
Yeah.
maybe, in my opinion, maybe 12 to 15 would be a good range for him.
Yeah, so Damian Lillard, averaging 32 points per game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, one of his highest, scoring output. He's joining Giannis now, right? Like I said, he is playing alongside one of the better players that also averaged 30 points per game. So, him playing alongside Giannis, I don't think he's gonna try to put up 32 points a night every night, because for the last 9, 10 seasons, he's been doing that for Portland, for his entire career. He's been trying to backpack Portland all the way to past the second round. But now he's playing with alongside Giannis. I feel like he should be understanding to take a back seat, but also know like, hey, if he needs to be more on the offensive end to help Giannis, he is also the best player to do that, in my opinion. A lot of catch and pop, pick and pops, with Dame, also the attack that he can pick and roll with Giannis too. If he really wants to, Giannis is a top 2, top 3 finisher around the rim, right? And then, putting him alongside Dame, which is one of the best shooters in the league at the moment. Man, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a very scary team for both of them. And for fantasy wise, I think both of them are in spots that they can do a lot better, or maybe Dame takes a little hit, or maybe Giannis takes a little hit. But like I said, we don't know until the season starts, until we start seeing some games, some numbers. But yeah, I think that's a good take on the Giannis and Dame at the moment. You want to move on to the Blazers one, Anson?
Sure. So if we look at what the Blazers got, obviously the biggest benefactory, in my opinion, will be their two already guards, Anthony Simons and Scoot Henderson. Without Dame, we've seen Anthony put up 26 to 28 points per game. And Anthony Simons, the reason why he struggles with Dame is because they're almost the same players. They like to take step back threes. With him gone, Scoot in there, I feel like sure Scoot could take away some touches from Anthony Simons, but I doubt replacing Scoot with Anthony. Obviously Lillard is the one that takes away from Anthony the most. So the two guards benefit, in my opinion. And then the thing with Drew Holiday is you could say, okay, Dame's gone, but Holiday's still going to be there. The Blazers are looking to trade Drew Holiday. I'm not sure what team yet, but if Drew's gone as well, then I'm looking at the two guards. If you want to analyze what how to project Drew Holiday, it's really up in the air. It just depends on what team Holiday goes to. What do you think? How do you feel about Portland's acquisition of Holiday? What team do you think Holiday is going to go to?
Yeah, so I mean, I like what the Blazers did. They moved Dame, which is what Dame's one of my favorite players. I want Dame to get out there. And now they have Holiday, but like you said already, they're trying to trade Holiday probably for another younger star, or maybe just for picks. I feel like giving Holiday out to one of the other teams that really need holidays. I feel like some teams come to mind. There's the 76ers, right, with the Harden situation that they're unhappy there. Miami could use Holiday, in my opinion. I think those two are really good teams that Holiday can try to get to. And in return, I feel like both teams could offer picks or maybe some players that could interest the Blazers, right? And that also allows Holiday to, operate his role, as, a defensive guard, because we can put up his stats really quick right here, right? So this is his stats without Giannis, right? 22 and almost 10 assists and 5 rebounds. So him playing without Giannis, we can see that he scores more, he facilitates more, he's able to do more, right? Compared to his stats, with Giannis, right? With Giannis, 19 and 7 and 5. The rebounds are around the same, but 19 and 7, that's like a 2 assists and like a 3-point drop off, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you incorporate that into fantasy, right? 2 assists, that's about 4 fantasy points. And let's just say a 2-pointer, like a 2-pointer, or maybe even a 3-pointer, right? That is minus 3 fantasy points. If you want to calculate a 3-point shot, that's minus 5 fantasy points. So if you add that up, that's about 7 to 9 fantasy point, or 6 to 9 fantasy point drop when he's on the court with Giannis, or compare when he's on the court without Giannis, right? So we at the moment, I feel like if Drew stays in Portland, it's be a very, very confusing time to see who you want to draft, because is Drew coming off the bench? Are they gonna still start Holiday? Right. Because I mean, it still start Scoot, my apologies. It just we just have to see what the Blazers do with Holiday first because I feel like if he goes to 76ers, he's playing alongside Embiid. I feel like his numbers should be average around this, if he does play around Embiid, hopefully, around 19, maybe more assists because he's feeding, the big man inside. If he goes to Miami, I feel like I think like Miami is more the confusing one. I'm not sure. Maybe you can help me out with that, Anson. What do you think his numbers are going to be look like if he goes to Miami? Playing alongside Butler and Bam.
In my opinion, if he does go to Miami, it'll probably be similar to what he was like with the Bucks, just not last year Bucks, mainly because Middleton was hurt, yeah, for almost the whole season. I think it would be comparable to the Bucks team with Middleton healthy, because okay, Jimmy Butler takes similar amount of shots to Giannis Antetokounmpo, in my opinion. They take pretty similar shots. Um, and Giannis might take a few more shots, but then you have Bam and Hero compared to uh, Brooke Lopez and Middleton. So it's pretty similar, in my opinion, in terms of offensive, like how many shots, how many star players, and how many shots that are available. So I think it'd be similar to Drew Holiday if you look 2 years ago, which would put
2025.
him around the 40-point fantasy average.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like this is fine then. 18, 6, and 4. This is when he was in 2020, 2021. So about 3 years ago, I would say 2, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't think there should be too much of a concern for, Drew Holiday at the moment yet, until we see more news, get more information. Right. I don't want you guys to overreact. If you guys already drafted, then that's what happens when you draft too early. That's all I gotta say. All right. So don't draft too early. But let's move on. Let's move on. So, oh wait, we have Aiton too. What do you think about Aiton? We'll pull up Aiton stats right here for last year. Obviously, he's gonna be in a bigger role on the Portland, playing alongside Scoot and Anthony and maybe Drew, right? But what do you think about Aiton? Obviously Aiton here did 18 and 10 last year. Well, what do you see for him?
Yeah, for 18, he's been around 6 or 7 guy on 12-man teams. He's been around that 50 to 70 range. Not very good in terms of what he could be. So maybe a change of scenery, because 18 was supposed to be the man. He was drafted over Luca. He got a max contract for a reason. He just didn't live up to expectations. Maybe he could live up to expectations in this new situation. He had some like relationship issues with Monty Williams. Now he's out of there. I think there's some potential in 18. I wouldn't draft him too high up, just because we've just never seen anything from 18, even when the Suns were a non-playoff team. His best season being 2020, he was all right. He was kind of still in that 50 range. So I would definitely wouldn't take him, top 40 for sure. But he does get a boost in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, in my opinion, I feel like Aiton hasn't done anything so spectacular that shows me that he's in store for a breakout year if he had his own team, right? Like I want to compare him to just very quick compare to like Mikal Bridges, right? Like we've seen him, in the Suns as well. He leaves the Suns, he goes to Brooklyn. He's probably number one option there at the moment. Um, he's having a great season. Like the post trade deadline, he was having a decent, it's a small sample size, but he was having a really, really good showcase of what he can do on the court when he's the number one option. For Aiton, like I said, like Anson said already, there are times where we look at this guy like, yo, how is this guy the number one pick? Like we just don't get it, but maybe he could redeem himself in Portland this year. But yeah, if you guys have Aiton, already drafted him, I think this is a good sign for you guys, right? Because like we said, we think he's gonna move higher. So if you were able to get him at a later round, I think that's a good steal. But as for right now, I think 18 is around where you said he would be, around the 50 pick, 50, 60 pick.
I want
Um,
to add one more thing, because you brought up a really good point with Mikal Bridges.
yeah.
It's like, how do we project when a pretty good player enters a team of bums, right? Like Mikal Bridges entered that Brooklyn team. He was the man, right? How do we project when someone enters in that situation? How do we know if they're gonna make that adjustment and they're gonna be ready to be the number one guy? Well, in my opinion, I think a good way to look at it, right? I'm not an Aiton hater at all, but just from what I'm seeing objectively, Mikal Bridges in Phoenix didn't get his opportunity, played on a stacked team, but he showed a lot of character. He was ready all the time, played every single game, always ready, had good energy, good always a good teammate, right? And with Aiton, his attitude's kind of pissed poor. There's some off-court dramas with him hanging out with porn stars, and he seems kind of distracted. And even if you look at his stats over the past couple years, for some whatever reason, sure, his points went down when the team got better, which makes a lot of sense. But for whatever reason, his rebounds have been going down every single year. Last year was basically one of his lowest rebounding years. So rebounding numbers really show me your effort output. And last year he averaged less than his rookie year. So I'm not really sure if his head's in the right place. Where Mikal Bridges, it seems like he was just always ready on his toes, and then when the opportunity showed, he was ready for it. I'm not sure if Aiton is quite ready for it.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree with you there. That's why, like I said, I was like, Aiton hasn't done anything spectacular. Like until I see something, amazing happen, I'm not gonna shoot him just as much as we shot him Mikal Bridges, right? Like we haven't seen anything yet. We don't know if he's gonna do good in Portland or he's gonna do worse. If somehow he does worse, then I'm sorry that you guys drafted him. My bad. But moving on from Aiton, right? We obviously have the Nurkic and Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, Grayson Allen. How would that really affect Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, maybe BO2? Right? Is Nurkic now draftable? I
Short
don't.
answer, no.
Yeah,
All
I was
right,
like,
guys, we're gonna end
no.
the video.
Like, I don't think so. I don't think Nurkic is draftable, but I know there are going to be some regards of okay, how about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, right? I know that in the playoffs we saw that Devin Booker and Kevin Durant were probably arguably the best duo in the league. They're both averaging like 35 points plus per game. They look very, very dominant, and it's because they were very top heavy. They didn't have any help, so they were both the guys that had to do all the heavy lifting, right? I don't expect them to average 35 points per game, both of them, coming to the season. Now that they do have a little more help, I don't think it should play too big of a part. Like I think you guys should just kind of look at this as more for basketball other than fantasy. I think in fantasy, they're both going to get their shots. They're both going to get their buckets. Like, I don't think any of these guys going to give, Devin Booker or Kevin Durant a hard time to get their own shot or get their own rhythm in. So I don't think this should play too much of an issue for Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I mean, what do you think?
Agree with you there. I don't think it makes much of a difference in fantasy. I do like it in real life. Just to
Mm-hmm.
quickly talk about why I like it. Um, as of right now, Nurkic and Aiton, their level of play is not as of right now, right? We're talking. Let me make sure, because if Aiton has a breakout year, you guys come back to this video. Hey, bro, I'm saying right now what we've seen so far, September 27, right? We just witnessed the 2023 season. We just witnessed Aiton do nothing in the playoffs. Nurkic and Aiton is not that far off when it comes to how good they are, level of play,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously Aiton is younger, has more potential. Nurkic is older, but if you look at the Suns situation for them, it's pretty good because two of the top three players are old. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal are pretty old. So you basically swap players that play about the same level of play, and then you're throwing in some good role players who I think could really help them out.
Yeah, I think that should kind of wrap it up. Like Anson said already, I don't think this is going to impact Devin Booker or Kevin Durant or even Beal too much in fantasy. Like we said, we like how it looks on paper in the real NBA, but for fantasy, I think I just turn a blind eye to this. This doesn't really affect them that much. But yeah, I think that should wrap up this video, right? We just want to make a breakdown of the trade and kind of show, give you guys our takes on how it affects fantasy, right? But yeah, is there anything else you want to add, Anson?
No, but if you guys disagree with us or you guys think we missed something about this trade, you guys think I don't know, it affects another player on the team, let us know. Ask us anything you want. We'll try to get to you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if that's it, then I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys have a great fantasy season, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.
Peace.